If you are not learning today, someone else is. And tomorrow, they will be ahead of you. In a world that changes every single minute, stopping means falling behind. Most people repeat the same patterns day after day. The same thinking, the same habits, the same reactions, and then wonder why nothing changes. They are stuck in a comfort zone of what they already know. But you cannot afford that. Not if you want to stand out. Not if you want to move forward. Not if you want to actually govern your own life and decisions. You have to do what 99% of people are not willing to do. Learn every day, without excuses, without gaps. Because knowledge is not just power, it is an edge. Before we begin, write in the comments right now. Today I invest in my own mind. I am Stoic. Let that be your first act of change. Not just words, a declaration of your commitment to yourself. Write it with intention. Feel it with conviction. Let it begin reprogramming how you approach every day from this point forward. Now let's begin. 1. Daily learning is the path to genuine transformation. If today you choose to stop learning, you have chosen to stop growing. Full stop. It does not matter how old you are, how many degrees you hold, how many books you have read, or how many times you have thought you already knew enough. If you are not absorbing something new every single day, you are falling behind. The world does not wait for anyone. Knowledge updates constantly. Skills shift. Opportunities move. Only those who train their minds daily, like a muscle, remain genuinely prepared for the challenges ahead. Every day is a chance to plant something new in your consciousness. But most people waste that fertile ground, filling it with complaints, hollow entertainment, pointless comparison, and distractions that produce nothing. Meanwhile, the people who understand the value of learning are sowing ideas every morning, every evening, even in the middle of chaos. They do not do it because they have extra time. They do it because they understand. Learning is not a luxury. It is an investment that multiplies across every area of life. When you commit to learning every day, you do not just become more knowledgeable. You become braver, freer, and more capable. Knowledge creates choice. It allows you to adapt faster, respond more wisely, and solve problems more effectively. Most importantly, it makes you independent of luck, because you are building your own opportunities rather than waiting for them to arrive. And this does not require hours in a library or going back to school. It requires a daily commitment to your own mind. One chapter, one new idea, one video that challenges you, an error you actually examine and learn from, a conversation with someone who has something worth hearing. That is real learning. The kind that changes things. Sometimes we tell ourselves that we are not growing because of the economy, our family situation, our past, or the country we live in. But in most cases, the actual barrier is a lack of knowledge. Because if you knew more, you would act differently. If you understood more, you would choose better. If you learned more, you would grow along a different path. Deep transformation begins with daily learning. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul is strengthened by what it thinks." In Stoicism, knowledge is not decoration. It is the most powerful tool available for governing your emotions, overcoming difficulty, and living with dignity. The person who learns every day lives better every day. Daily learning does not only make you more capable, it makes you more humble. Because the more you genuinely know, the more clearly you see how much you do not yet know. And from that humility grows an open mind, one that is ready to keep growing, listening, and changing. Do not let pride be the thing that stops you. Make learning your discipline. Schedule it. Build it into your daily routine the way you build in food and sleep. Treat it as a non-negotiable, and do not allow a single day to pass without your mind receiving something that moves it closer to the person you are working to become. 2. The daily habit of learning breaks the chains of stagnation. Every day that you choose learning, you send a clear signal to yourself and to the world. I am not staying where I am. I do not accept a mediocre life. I will not let my mind rust. I will grow, even in silence. Even if no one notices, even when it is difficult. Because daily learning is not just a habit. It is a declaration of war on complacency, on the passivity and quiet conformism that quietly swallows most people's potential. While others wait for inspiration or for the perfect moment, you choose to act. Even if it is just one page, one new principle, one idea that shifts how you see something. That is real education. That is transformation. Because a mind that has been genuinely expanded by new knowledge never returns to its previous shape. This is not about perfection, it is about intention. Getting up every day with the decision to feed your mind deliberately, even inside chaos. Being the person who does not settle for the minimum, but genuinely wants to understand, to improve, to matter, to lead. Learning makes you more useful, more whole, more free. You are the one who decides, repeat yesterday's story or write a new one. Knowledge is the pen, will is the ink. But it is the actual act of seeking, reading, analyzing, and questioning that makes the difference. Sometimes there will be laziness. Sometimes entertainment will seem more appealing. The noise of the world will compete for your attention. But that is exactly the moment where the real battle is won or lost. When you choose to shut off the noise and let in the idea that lifts you. When you close the distraction and open the book. When you choose to think harder instead of going along with whatever is easy. Stoicism reminds us, mastery of the mind is the highest form of power, and daily learning is how you earn it. Not through force, not through volume, but through clarity, consistency, and daily training from within. Epictetus said, "No person is free who does not own themselves, and you cannot own yourself without knowing yourself, and knowing requires learning." Education is not for appearing intelligent. It is for being free, for thinking independently, for not needing permission from a system or a trend to chart your own path. The educated mind does not need anyone's approval to begin. It is not easily broken when difficulties arise. It has resources, perspective, and direction. Every hour you give to genuine learning is a brick in the foundation of a resilient life. Every new piece of knowledge is a tool for not repeating old mistakes, for making wiser decisions, for understanding yourself and others more clearly. There is no growth without learning, no progress without mental discipline. If you feel stuck today, if something feels off, like you are not moving, perhaps what you need is not a big external change. Perhaps you need a single idea that wakes your mind up. And that idea is waiting for you in a book, in a deep conversation, in honest reflection, in the persistent search for something worth knowing. Compare yourself not to people who pretend to know everything. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. That is the only competition worth your attention. If today you understand a little more, think a little deeper, and ask better questions, then you are winning. 3. An educated mind is far harder to manipulate and belongs far more fully to itself. An educated mind is a free mind. And the most profound freedom is not physical, it is mental. When you can think independently, when you have practiced questioning what you are told rather than blindly repeating it, when you understand how critical thinking actually works, you become genuinely harder to control. Fear cannot be sold to you as easily. Your choices are no longer so easily steered by someone else's agenda. This is why daily learning is not simply about knowing more. It is about becoming more autonomous, more aware of yourself and the world, less susceptible to the groupthink, the fear-based narratives, and the manufactured urgency that shapes so many people's decisions without their ever noticing. The person who thinks for themselves, who reads carefully, reflects honestly, and forms their own considered opinions, is not easily thrown off course. They do not need external validation to know what they value. They do not panic when the noise gets loud. They are grounded in something that cannot be taken away, a mind they have genuinely built and know how to use. This level of independence is not given. It is earned through consistent learning, consistent questioning, and the discipline to sit with difficult ideas instead of reaching for comfortable ones. 4. The fear of looking foolish is exactly what keeps most people stuck. There is a version of pride that does enormous damage, the kind that disguises itself as self-sufficiency. The version that says, "Asking for help means I am weak. Not knowing something means I am inadequate. Admitting I do not understand this means I should not be in the room." That pride keeps people stuck, because no one grows in isolation. No one reaches their full potential by refusing to learn from others. The fear of looking foolish, of being seen as someone who is still learning, still figuring things out, is one of the most effective traps there is. And the Stoics knew this. The willingness to say, "I don't know, but I'm willing to find out," is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of genuine intelligence. It takes courage to be a student, especially when part of you wants everyone to believe you already have it all figured out. And it takes even more courage to admit when you have been wrong, to revise your thinking, and to approach familiar ideas with fresh eyes. The moment you release the need to appear fully competent at all times, you open yourself to an extraordinary amount of growth, because you stop filtering out the feedback, the challenge, and the new perspective that would have moved you forward. You start actually hearing what people around you are saying, including the things that are uncomfortable to hear. This is the Stoic approach to knowledge, not the accumulation of information to impress, but the honest, relentless pursuit of understanding, wherever it leads, even when it contradicts something you previously believed. 5. Failure is not the opposite of growth. It is where growth actually begins. Most people treat failure as evidence of something deeply wrong with them, something to hide, something to recover from as quickly as possible so that no one notices. The Stoics treated it differently. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Every obstacle that frustrates you today carries the potential to become the thing that moves you forward, if you are willing to do the work of understanding it rather than escaping it. Here is what that work looks like. When something goes wrong, genuinely wrong, not just inconveniently wrong, stop. Do not minimize it. Do not explain it away or avoid it. Look at it directly. Ask, why did this happen? What did I miss? What can I do better next time? Because if you do that work, even when it is painful, the failure earns its place. It justifies itself. It leaves you with something you could not have gotten any other way. The specific, earned knowledge of what does not work, and the clarity to try again differently. Stoicism teaches, failure is not good or bad in itself. It is simply part of the path. What matters is how you interpret it and what you do next. The person who learns from failure is not the one who felt it least. It is the one who felt it fully and still chose to extract the lesson. Learn to be grateful even for the falls. Not because they are pleasant, but because they strip away pretension, reveal what is actually true, and rebuild you on a more honest foundation. And when you finally reach what you have been working toward, when you become the person you have been building toward, you will not say you got there because of your victories. You will say you got there because of what every failure taught you along the way. 6. Excess entertainment is quietly stealing your potential. The problem is not with rest or enjoyment. The problem is with how much of your one life you are handing over to things that give you nothing in return, and the ease with which it happens without you even noticing. Every time you choose to spend another hour on content that does not challenge you, stimulate you, or build toward anything, you are spending minutes that will never come back. Minutes you could have used for learning, for creating, for building something real. We live in an era where distraction is one click away. Everything is competing for your attention. Social media, short videos, games, gossip, endless series. And the worst part is that most of it is engineered specifically to keep you there, to make it hard to stop, to condition your brain to expect easy stimulation without effort. And when the brain gets accustomed to that, it loses its capacity to focus, to concentrate, to tolerate difficulty. It loses the ability to grow. Constant comfort softens. Excess entertainment dulls. When your mind is habituated to passive stimulation, it becomes impatient, easily distracted, unable to hold sustained attention on anything that requires genuine effort. And you will not even notice time passing, days drifting by with entertainment but without progress. Seneca warned, while we are blinking in indecision and idle amusement, life passes. The real Stoic does not despise pleasure, but they know the difference between genuine restoration and escape. And they know that genuine pleasure is growth, not hiding from yourself in an endless feed. Here is a simple exercise. Count how many hours per week you spend on passive entertainment. Not to judge yourself, but to wake up. How many of those hours could be redirected toward reading that actually expands your thinking, toward physical training, toward planning your direction, toward conversations that matter? Every consciously chosen hour is an investment. Every hour surrendered to mindless distraction is a cost you can never recover. This is not about eliminating all enjoyment from your life. It is about balance, about boundaries, about being the one who decides when and how much, rather than having those decisions made for you by an algorithm. Because every time you choose to spend time on something that genuinely enriches you, you are building a stronger future, more prepared, more free. And the discipline you build by resisting the pull of easy distraction will ultimately be what determines not just what you know, but who you become. 7. What you choose today shapes the person you will be tomorrow. Your future life is not built in a single dramatic moment. It is assembled from small, daily decisions. What you do today, what you allow yourself today, what you choose today. These things will become your reality tomorrow. This is simple to say, and extraordinary to actually live by. Every time you postpone something important, every time you choose the easy thing over the right thing, you are betraying the person you will need to be. And every time you do the difficult thing, the uncomfortable thing, the thing that serves your future rather than your present comfort, you are caring for that person. You are becoming the architect of your own life. Look at where you are right now. Everything around you, who you are, what you have built, what surrounds you, is the result of decisions you made in the past, some conscious, some automatic, some brave, some small, but all cumulative, all adding up to this exact moment. If that is true, and it is, then it means you can begin laying a completely different foundation today, simply by changing the choices you make from this point forward. The difficulty is that we are wired for the short term. Immediate pleasure feels more real than future benefit. Skipping the workout once feels harmless. Avoiding an important conversation is convenient. One more hour of entertainment seems like nothing. But none of these things are harmless in isolation, because they accumulate. And what accumulates either strengthens or weakens. Either brings you closer to the life you want, or moves you further from it. Every small thing matters. Every time you choose what you want most over what you want right now, you vote for the life you actually deserve. And every time you do the opposite, you vote against it. The Stoics lived by this. They did not seek fame, quick results, or external validation. They asked themselves daily, what can I do today to be better than I was yesterday? And they acted without fanfare, without self-congratulation, with humility and enormous inner strength. You can live the same way. Maybe it means waking up earlier, reading instead of scrolling, telling the truth when it would have been easier to say nothing, forgiving someone, saying enough. Because the best version of yourself is not a vision. It is a practice. Specific habits, specific values, specific choices, repeated until they become who you are. And one day, you will look back and see, I am different. I think differently. I act differently. I choose differently. And it will have started with one decision: to choose yourself, to choose growth, to choose the path that asked more of you, but gave more back. 8. One book at the right moment can change the direction of your entire life. And this is not an exaggeration. Sometimes a single paragraph, a single idea, a single story, read at exactly the right moment, becomes the spark that ignites something that does not go out. A book is not just pages with text. It is a conversation with someone's genuine experience, hard-won wisdom, the pain and the victories of a life actually lived. It is a door into a world of ideas you had not yet encountered. Sometimes through a book, you hear for the first time a truth you had been afraid to say to yourself. You find the question you should have been asking for years, and you find the strength to step out of wherever you have been hiding. But for that transformation to happen, you have to give the book a chance. You have to create the space, the time, the quiet, in which a word can land deep enough to actually change something. Because today, many people say they do not read because they have no time. But the problem is not time. The problem is priorities. You always find time for what you genuinely value. If you truly respect yourself, your growth, your future, you will not allow days to pass without giving at least a few minutes to an idea worth carrying. Every book is a potential road toward a different version of yourself. You never know which one will be the one that changes everything. That is why you do not stop. You keep seeking, keep reading, keep exploring. The practice does not have to be heavy or dense. It has to be genuine. It has to challenge you, make you think, make you feel something, push you to reconsider something you assumed was settled. Because real learning does not begin where you find confirmation of what you already believe. It begins where you encounter something new, something uncomfortable, something that expands the boundaries of your thinking and dares you to grow. Marcus Aurelius understood this. His own personal journals, what we now know as meditations, were not just recorded observations. They were an ongoing dialogue with himself, with the universe, with the wisdom that only emerges when you take the time to sit with ideas and let them work on you. You can create that same dialogue. Every day, when you open a page, you open a new dimension of yourself. Each book you finish is another layer of inner strength, another stone in the foundation. Sometimes a breakthrough does not require a course, a program, or a drastic change. Sometimes it just requires one book, at the right time, and the honest willingness to let it go deeper than you planned. 9. The moment you stop learning is the moment you start losing ground. Stopping does not mean staying where you are. It means starting to fall behind. And even if it is not immediately visible, the world keeps moving. If you are not moving with it, you will eventually find yourself left behind. It does not matter what education you already have, what experience you have accumulated, or what level of skill you have reached. Learning is not a phase of life. It is a way of living. And every time you consciously choose not to engage with something new, you are missing a chance to grow, to sharpen yourself, to prepare for what is ahead. The mistake many people make is believing that learning is for school, for courses, for specific institutions. But learning runs far deeper. It is the capacity to observe, to question, to listen honestly, to read carefully, to fail and actually examine why, to look inward and acknowledge what you do not yet understand. You may feel highly competent today, but what happens when the rules of the game change? When technology moves forward? When new skills are required? If you have not been preparing, there will be no time to catch up. Continuous learning is not a trend, it is a necessity. Those who understand this, who take on the commitment to keep growing, will always be ready. Always one step ahead. Always capable of adapting, solving, and leading. While those who are satisfied with what they already know will gradually lose relevance, lose momentum, lose the edge they once had. Epictetus said, "Do not try to make everything happen as you wish. Accept things as they are, and then you will have peace." And to achieve that acceptance, that adaptive peace, you need education. Because only a mind that is consistently learning can bend with change rather than break under it. Only a flexible mind survives genuine uncertainty. Do not let any week pass without deliberately adding something to what you know. One book per month, one podcast per day, one meaningful conversation. The key is not to stop, because the one who stops learning has already begun to fall behind, and the gap between those who keep growing and those who plateau widens every single day. 10. Learn from those who have already walked your path, and you will grow far faster. We tell ourselves a story that we need to figure everything out on our own, that asking for guidance is weakness, that needing support is admitting inadequacy. But the truth is that trying to get there entirely alone is not strength. It is slowness. It is delay. Mentors exist to shorten the path, to share the scars they earned so that you can avoid earning the same ones, to give you clarity where you are tangled in your own doubts. And when you choose to learn from them, with an open mind and a genuine willingness to apply what you receive, you begin growing at a pace that years of solo effort would never match. A mentor is not someone who has all the answers. They are someone who has already lived what you are currently navigating, who has made the difficult decisions, fallen, recovered, and learned. And that lived experience, not theory, not abstraction, but actual hard-won knowledge, is what they can share with you. You do not need a famous mentor with millions of followers. You need someone who has already walked the path you are just stepping onto. Someone who challenges you toward honesty, who will not tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. But for this exchange to actually work, you have to bring something to it. Your level of commitment, your willingness to be challenged. Because no mentor invests real time and energy in someone who is not actually going to do the work. To have a mentor is not a passive experience. It is a demonstration of your own seriousness. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of one of the most powerful empires in history, learned from his Stoic teacher throughout his life. His wisdom was not born entirely from solitude. It was built through dialogue, through the experience of others, through the willingness to remain a student even when he held enormous power. The Stoics taught, to become wise, you do not have to make every mistake yourself. You can learn from others, if you have the humility to ask. And yes, it requires that you overcome pride. Because many people mistake asking for help as a sign of weakness. It is the opposite. It is the mark of genuine maturity, the willingness to grow beyond what your own perspective can reach. Take the first step. Identify people you genuinely respect. Approach them with intention. Ask thoughtful questions. Listen more than you speak. And most importantly, show through your actions that what you received was actually applied. Because nothing motivates a mentor more than watching someone grow because of what was shared. And even if no physical mentor is within reach, do not use that as an excuse. The wisest people who ever lived left their knowledge in books, interviews, lectures, and biographies. They are waiting for you to come and take it. Your path toward the best version of yourself becomes significantly clearer the moment you choose to walk it alongside someone who has already been there. 11. The best version of you is not a circumstance. It is a choice. It will not arrive on its own. It will not appear one morning simply because enough time has passed. It requires your active participation, your daily active participation. Because every action you take, every decision you make, every habit you build is either moving you toward that version of yourself or moving you away from it. You are not a fixed outcome. You are a process, continuous, flexible, changeable. And who you become depends not on fate, not on circumstances, not on your past, but on what you choose to do right now. Many people wait for inspiration, for motivation, for the right moment. But real growth does not come to the one who waits. It comes to the one who creates. The person who says, "Today I will take one step, small but mine. Today I will choose better. Today I will step outside the pattern. Today I will say no to what pulls me backward and yes to what pulls me forward." That is how the next version of you is born, not from a vision, from action, not from a dream, from a choice. And it is a choice that must be made not once, but every day. When it is easy, and when it is hard. When you have support, and when you are alone. When you believe in yourself, and when you doubt. Because it is precisely in the moments of doubt, when you want to give up, that character is actually formed. When you either return to the old self or discover a new dimension of who you can be. And there are no shortcuts. There is only the path of quiet growth, inner work, and consistent steps. The Stoics understood this completely. They were not after glory, recognition, or rapid wins. They were after virtue. They asked themselves every day, "What can I do today to be better than I was yesterday?" And they acted without noise, without self-congratulation, with humility and with enormous inner authority. You can live the same way. It might mean getting up earlier, reading instead of scrolling, telling the truth when staying quiet would have been easier, forgiving someone, saying enough. The best version of yourself is not a beautiful image. It is a set of specific habits, specific values, specific choices, repeated long enough that they become you. And one day you will look back and see, "I think differently now. I act differently. I choose differently." And it will have started with one decision: to choose yourself, to choose growth, to choose the path that demanded more and gave back everything. 12. The most powerful investment in your future is learning, starting now. Everything you invest in yourself today will return with interest. In the difficult moments, and they will come, it will be that knowledge, that skill, that inner strength that helps you hold your ground, act wisely, and not give up. And conversely, everything you avoid, delay, or ignore today will become a weak point tomorrow. Because the world changes, challenges grow, and only the ones who keep learning are able to stay ahead of what is coming without losing themselves in the process. If you want a better life, learn. If you want to be stronger, learn. If you want to lead, to build, to matter, learn. The power is not in knowing everything. It is in never stopping the act of growing. You do not have to be perfect, but you are obligated to be honest with yourself. If you know you can do more, do it. Start small. One paragraph, one page, one lesson. But do it consistently. Every single day, even when you do not feel like it. Especially when you do not feel like it. Because that is precisely when the discipline is being built. And discipline is what builds the person you are working to become. The world today needs people who actually think, who do not simply follow the crowd, who do not sell themselves for convenience, for likes, for comfort. People who are present, clear-minded, fully engaged, and you can be that person if you do not stop learning. So choose to be someone who grows, who lives with awareness, who leaves a mark. Because this is not about motivation, it is about a decision, a choice made every day. If you make that choice, everything else will align. Learn, because it is the path to freedom, to strength, to yourself. Dear viewers, if this video gave you something that sticks, subscribe, like, and turn on the bell so you never miss what is coming. Share your thoughts and questions in the comments. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next one.